Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card today is our Hangman energy. I'm not surprised to see it. It's not... But it does feel more like that moment of having to sit in a point of discomfort. I want to stress, though, that one of the things that we are seeing right now is that moment of observation in terms of looking and observing what is creating discomfort for you at this time, to be able to observe and recognize if what is creating the source of discomfort does have a point of balance. Why do I say that? Because when we experience this modality, this is not necessarily going through the act of going through something difficult for no reason. The gift of the Hangman is one about recognizing that some things are worth the difficulty, worth the effort. That point of what is worth it has a reward on the other side of it. That modality right now is being very amplified. We saw it yesterday, my friends. We saw it with all of that Tower energy coming up at the same time as the 4 of Wands. Why are we looking at modalities right now where we're seeing the Tower coming up in the same spread as the 4 of Wands? Because this is that moment that it's not about having to go through a point of adversity or difficulty. It's all being amplified in what you're truly doing that for. For the energy in the divine union, that intentional effort you're putting towards something is being amplified in the sense of recognizing, which we saw yesterday, that often the easy thing and the right thing are two very different things. And we see that for the energy right now in the divine union frequency, doing that right thing, moving in that vibration, amplifying that frequency, doesn't necessarily feel like it is easy. We even saw the fact that masculine was almost amplifying some feeling to feminine, feeling like them moving in that vibration right now was making things harder. What was feminine telling the masculine in terms of affirmation? Feminine saying, I wouldn't want you to choose the easy way. I love you because you don't choose the easy way. You do the thing that is right. We even saw with some of that 8 of Swords that we got yesterday that this is feminine energy that was almost amplifying to masculine, the ability to trust a masculine energy that always will do the right thing. And in a way, we're seeing that even now going through something that is difficult and seeing a masculine that isn't vacillating in terms of their own choice is amplifying to feminine that sense of trust that they feel in the masculine energy, in knowing that this isn't a masculine that's swayed by what feels like it is easy, that what feels like it makes things simple. This is a masculine energy that will always take the hard road if they know that it is the right one, because that is the internal GPS of the masculine. And that is what is amplifying, even in the divine union frequency, this feeling of being willing to do the hard thing and saying and amplifying to each other, we can do the hard thing, because the hard thing is its own gift. It is its own reward, because being able to move in that modality is not one that you do for the prize pack. You do it because you know that that is the way that you need to move in your heart space. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this ability to recognize having these difficult conversations may be amplifying the differentiation between what you may aspire and desire to right now versus what they might aspire and desire to right now. We recognize the energy coming into divine union right now. Did you really think that by boundary setting you were going to avoid the divine union? No, my friends. Divine union isn't like a certain following of actions. It's not a following of connection. It's building a connection with someone that is amplified and driven by intentionality and choice. It can take all manner of shapes and sizes. It is the intentionality in something that amplifies the ability to create that energetic frequency. And what we are seeing here is almost that recognition point for the energy coming into the divine union, that it may not necessarily always be easy. It may push you a little bit out of your comfort zone, but that is the gift of it, because it is an energetic frequency that doesn't just collapse when things get difficult. It is an energy that shows that two energies are willing to do that hard work to maintain the gift that is the divine union frequency. So that's what we see, that the energy coming into the divine union frequency is learning right now. Difficulty that has a beautiful reward on the other side of it. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is that moment of feeling like one is choosing the hard path, but also the right one. It's particularly for feminine, because we're seeing here that a lot of feminine energy right now is closing out karmic cycles, but almost wishing the masculine a lot of positivity on the way, particularly if this is feminine energy that asked something from masculine and masculine was not able or willing to give forth on it at the speed or with the easement that feminine felt like they needed to see to affirm whether that energy was truly ready to move into divine union. This is almost feminine again. This isn't feminine energy completely shedding something here. We recognize a lot of the feminine energy closing those chapters right now are almost doing so and saying, I'm doing the hard thing that I know is the right thing. Because this is almost feminine energy that's looking at a masculine and saying, I need to close this cycle with you, because if I don't, it could go on forever. But the conditions that are being created in that divine union, feminine was trying to amplify to masculine. If masculine isn't providing that clarity, if masculine isn't working with feminine as co-creator, then it's one that feminine's almost trying to say to masculine, I can't exist. There's no functional path here towards the ideal manifestation goal, because you're looking at things in a different way. You're not trying to build with me so much as you're just trying to hold on to me without giving me clarity, without giving me autonomy, without giving me choice in what we're creating together. And that's almost why we see a lot of this feminine energy is moving away from something and saying, I hope you come back when you understand what I'm trying to tell you. I'm setting you free. Feminine feels like, to a certain extent, they're setting masculine free and saying, I hope you can continue forward on this journey and come back when you understand these lessons, because my aspiration is to build with you, but you need to see that that is not something that we can't do, that we can only do together. And that requires a way of us communicating. It requires us a way of building together that I can't teach you. You must just understand. So even now for feminine, this is why it feels very difficult, because it feels like feminine is literally letting go of something and it's painful, but feminine is almost affirming to themselves that they feel like, in a way, that letting go is not so much a release, so much as a moment of being profoundly patient and hoping that someday something will return to them in a better form. Masculine in separation right now. There could be a moment for some of the masculine energy, again, if you're moving into divine union, having this ability, having these hard conversations, they're not comfortable. You're potentially feeling right now like there's a struggle point, because there's potentially a point of vulnerability and being this vulnerable that feels like it's almost painful. But again, you're recognizing and you're realizing that there's a gift on the other side of this. Moving in this way, conducting oneself in this fashion is something that may feel challenging, but the gift on the other side of it is profound. The union you're creating is profound. You're seeing and recognizing that it feels different, because it isn't something that you're necessarily doing alone. So even now, that valuation point is helping you come into the divine union frequency, because it may feel difficult, but it's not just pain for the sake of pain. It is pain that has this beautiful gift on the other side of it, which is having the shape of the union that you're creating with the feminine. For the other part of masculine energy right now, if you are in separation, you may be at a moment where the feminine may be saying something akin to almost identifying that if feminine asks you to clarify for them, if feminine asked you to come towards them with intentionality of purpose and clarity, if you either didn't do it or you did it and you waited too long, this is that modality that even now you're learning a very deep lesson, because this is almost that modality and recognizing that time was an important factor. And if you made a moment, or you made the feminine wait too long to give them this after they asked for it, this could be feminine energy almost trying to amplify that what you're bringing forth to them, they don't necessarily they can't accept anymore, or further, they don't necessarily feel like it is true, because they feel like there's something about the amount of time that you took to bring something forth to them that feels like you may have cultivated it. It feels less like something that is coming straight from the heart, and more something that you took time to puzzle out and think about which is now making them fear that you may more be in this modality right now, that you're trying to tell them what you think they want to hear, as opposed to something that is truly coming from the heart. So we even see now masculine energy, if in separation, there could be a modality where you're trying to explain, if there was some kind of portion of time here in you bringing something forth to feminine, what that actual time was. Because that moment right now, that modality is almost having you kind of experience and encounter that distance that you put, feminine's trying to articulate to you that in its way, the anxiety point is that it doesn't, even if you take too long to respond to a feminine, when they tell you they're in a point of emotional need, this is a feminine energy that's almost saying that they see and recognize an ability for you to be happy or content in allowing a feminine energy to suffer. And that in itself needs to be addressed. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread. This is why we see a lot of energy potentially moving into separation right now, because this is feminine energy potentially saying to masculine, if this was a masculine that kept the feminine waiting, this is feminine saying it doesn't have to be this difficult. These are easy things. This is feminine almost trying to amplify. This is almost feminine in separation trying to amplify a masculine, that there's an aspiration or hope that masculine would make something easier. But this is the thing that feminine almost saying that masculine is doing something that makes everything feel much harder than it needs to be. It makes everything feel like it is extremely painful. That if feminine asks something, if feminine amplifies an emotional need and masculine takes their sweet time in kind of getting back to them or responding, then this is feminine energy almost affirming that exactly that in itself is the limitation point of being able to come into union, because this is feminine energy that's looking at this and saying, what, we can't be in a modality where you're just satisfied and content to watch me suffer and it doesn't bother you. And that in a sense, effectively, again, masculine and separation, having a feminine articulate and amplify this may also, and this is the thing that I think that we're seeing that is hard for a lot of masculine in this modality. Masculine, you may recognize your own ability of allowing yourself to suffer. That your own a desire of being able to inhabit a state of pain, taking that time, almost being on your own persecution path. The problem you may be recognizing is when you are in divine union and you're on a persecution path, you're not the only one on the persecution path. You put the feminine on the persecution path as well. So this could be a moment that you might be saying to the feminine, I was suffering too during that time. But this is a feminine, if you're saying that, is almost saying to you, that's not a reason. You telling me that you created distance and that you were intentionally suffering through the distance you created between us doesn't fix the problem. You're telling me that you're a glutton for punishment. You're saying to me that you like to make yourself suffer, but you're not recognizing that you going into that moment of flagellating yourself and putting yourself in a point of pain is one that you're also making me feel. This is a reflecting pool. The divine union is a reflecting pool. And this is why feminine's saying, I'm not here for it. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to be in a relationship that is built on suffering. And that's why we see a lot of energy right now that feminine's almost saying to masculine, when you get off that cross, you know where to find me. When you're done hurting yourself, you know where to find me. Because if you hurt, I hurt. And I can't sit here and watch you suffer because I am also suffering. So for masculine and feminine, coming into the divine union cycle, this is potentially masculine saying, I recognize that I've done that in the past. This is masculine saying, I recognize that that the way I was moving was not just hurting me, it was hurting both of us. And that mutual accountability point we're seeing is why a lot of energy is potentially now moving back into divine union, because it's not that point of pretending that wasn't occurring. This is almost taking that point of accountability and viewing it as such. And again, the energy coming into divine union, acknowledging that, saying, I don't want it to be that hard anymore. It was only hurting us. It was only hurting our connection. It wasn't creating any kind of anything positive. It was holding us back from being able to have any progress. The pain was not progress. And so we see here that the energy that's able to amplify and recognize that is allowing a path back into divine union, because it's amplifying the past versus what is now going to be easier going forward. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is a little bit more difficult because this is circumstances and situations that are forcing you into this modality. This is something that you intentionally picked up. This is something that you intentionally decided. I told you, masculine and feminine divine union are doing some dual work path stuff right now. So this is almost this moment that is amplifying what you have to bear and what you have to carry, while also, this is like the walking and chewing gum energetically right now. That is almost like, again, the burden is the reward. Having to navigate something right now, almost intentionally putting that energy in. The reason that we see that the energy in the divine union can do so right now is because, and I always stress this when we see hangman energy, the two modalities wherein hangman energy can navigate is either the benefit is equal and proportional to the reward, or it's not forever. It's not forever. So the energy in the divine union is saying we can navigate this, because we can navigate a temporary hardship, because we recognize that the way we feel right now, what we're going through, isn't perpetual. It isn't forever. There is a finite point. It will get easier. And this is almost the energy in the divine union saying we're doing something hard now so that things will be easier in the future. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Next card in our spread is, bear with me one moment. Third card in our 5-card spread. We have here, not surprised to see this either, 4 of Swords in its reversal. Remember when I said that the energy in the divine union frequency intentionally decided to address some circumstances and the situations from the past in order to continue to facilitate and amplify the healing journey that they are going on right now? This is some of that unpacking. This is some of that unpacking that we were identifying, that we see. This is why we see that the energy in the divine union is okay going through this right now, because this is masculine and feminine saying, we knew this wasn't going to be easy. We went into something. We intentionally decided to address something from the past, knowing and recognizing that the reason that we're doing something, even if it's hard, we're doing it to make things easier going forward. So this is giving a little bit of that like feeling of ripping a Band-Aid off to a certain extent. There's something here that we're seeing that the energy in the divine union is addressing, and it may have some things that are connected to past experiences or circumstances or situations, but we see here that that ability to do so, that ability to go back and to try to put healing on something, even if it's opening a can of worms right now, even if it's causing some momentary hardship, it's almost this moment of saying, we rather address it now so that things can be easier going forward. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is that observation of the past, especially for the energy that's coming back into the frequency that fell out of the frequency. The only way to come back into the frequency is taking accountability for what was causing any point of disruption in the past, so that you can find a more productive way going forward. So there's a lot of conversation here that we see that is happening energetically that is requiring a lot of scrutiny on past situations and circumstances, all for the sense of recognizing whether energetically there's an observation of someone having done something in a way that they would not do it now. This is that reason. Feminine's requiring this because feminine's reserving judgment a little bit right now. They're trying to see if that masculine has truly changed, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Masculine, you may be recognizing that this path back into healing is one that you requires a point of accountability. But we see here that if you are also on this healing journey, you are willing to do this hard work. You are willing to do this unpacking, because you're almost saying to feminine right now, I see how we were making this hard. I see what the problem is. I know a better way of addressing it now. It's not that that past isn't going to disappear. It's not that we can forget that past. It's that I now have a much better way of addressing it. I know what to do now because I've been on this healing journey. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is a feminine energy. especially if this is masculine right now. If this is masculine trying to come towards feminine, and feminine articulated and told masculine what they needed to facilitate coming back into union, and masculine did not provide that in an expedient, easy way. This is feminine energy that feels to a certain extent like they are trying to push the point in the fact that they cannot come back into union with someone, because this is feminine energy saying, I haven't seen, this isn't you changing. There's something here that you haven't changed, especially because this is something that feminine is almost saying to masculine. I asked you for something that was simple. I asked you for something that was simple. If you took something that I asked you that should have been simple and you made it as difficult as humanly possible to receive, and even now you're trying to make it, you're either persecuting yourself or persecuting me for asking for something, like everything becomes too painful. This is feminine saying, I can't do this. This is feminine saying to masculine, you make it too hard. Everything becomes this like grand sacrifice. When I asked you, like, go get a carton of milk, this is feminine saying it's too much. It's too much. It doesn't have to be this hard. Feminine trying to say, and this is the feminine in separation saying, you're not giving me any confirmation that anything changed. And this could even be some masculine energy saying this to feminine right now as well. The important thing right now, and again, the reason we're seeing the separation caused right now is if someone, and I think that I need to stress this for the energy in separation. If you're amplifying how much pain you're in, instead of just saying, I know how to make it easier, amplifying how much pain you're in or how much pain someone's causing you isn't going to get you back into the divine union frequency. It's just amplifying the fact that there's something here that is not fixed because it's showing that it's too hard. So if someone's not like, I know how to ease this burden, then you're just going to stay in separation. This is almost like feminine. If feminine asks masculine for clarity, intentionality, purpose, and masculine's been dragging it out or going to all other places and spaces instead of saying this is feminine looking at masculine being like, I've got like a gaping wound here, and I just asked you for a Band-Aid, and you're doing everything else but giving me what I've asked you for. So this is feminine potentially, and this is why we see this. And I have to stress here, guys, don't let this open a box, because this could get back, if in separation, to starting to drag out things from the past, almost to affirm that something hasn't changed here. Next card. This is why we see that energy in separation right now. That's the problem here. Especially if there's the energy in separation that's not coming back into divine union. If this is something where feminine said to masculine or vice versa, look, it's really simple. You just have to tell me what it is that you want and give me that clarity of intention. What is it that you want? And instead, someone's going to histrionics. Someone's going like overboard. Someone's talking about how they feel, what the other person does that hurts them. This is the energy being like, I didn't ask you how you feel. I asked you what you want. And so we see here the energy saying, do you understand? And if this is energy being like, you don't understand what you did last week, and you did this, and 2 months ago you did this, and the energy's going, I'm not asking you how I hurt you. I'm asking you what you want. This is energy in separation that's trying to amplify someone's fixation on the past. Someone's refusal to let go of the past. Someone continually utilizing a point of observing the past and just talking about how hurt they are. That the energy not seeing someone that's doing that and saying, but now I understand what we need to do going forward, that's not going to let that happen. This is energy that's like, this doesn't feel like you're coming back to me because you want to heal. It feels like you're just trying to come back to me so you can air grievances. Like there's almost a moment that we're seeing here in separation. Someone's looking at someone and saying, what do you want? Are you just here to rehash the past? Or are you here because you actually want to find a way to go forward? So we see energetically right now, this is why we see that the problem is there's a push-pull happening here, because it's almost someone wanting to move forward and someone wanting to pull back. The energy that's healing, the energy that's coming into the divine union frequency, I have to stress, They're doing both path work. They're doing both path work. They are utilizing and observing the past, but they're not using it to persecute the other person. They're utilizing it as a point of reference to say, that thing in the past won't happen again because I now know what we would do going forward that would be more productive. So there is an unpacking here that is happening. And it is a difficult unpacking because it's triggering, but you're doing it specifically to facilitate and to recognize and to observe that you now see a better way of going forward and addressing that the way that you were doing something in the past was almost doomed from the start. That is what is allowing this to be an act and a movement of correction back into a frequency. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, this is a momentary setback that will allow for longer term easement. A lot of the energy in the divine union right now is experiencing a modality or moment that feels like it is difficult. It feels like a hurdle. It feels like a momentary setback. It feels like a point of immediate frustration. But the observation in recognizing right now that something here, you're allowing yourself that temporary inconvenience because the long-term easement is there, is what is amplifying the fact that the energy in the divine union right now is doing some serious unpacking of the past, getting the hard part over so that you can move easier with better easement going forward. Continuing, fifth card in our 5-card spread. All for easement. All for healing. Momentary setbacks, but healing. Small battles, having that bigger perspective. Being able to recognize momentary setbacks, all for the sense of healing. Again, what have I been saying has been happening right now for the energy in the divine union frequency? Sometimes the right thing isn't necessarily the easy thing. So we're seeing here that one thing we're seeing is something that you're doing right now in the divine union frequency is going through situations and circumstances that are creating momentary hurdles. But again, it doesn't amplify that you'd be doing anything differently, because that modality that we see that you're happening through right now feels like this isn't something that you're doing to win a prize. This isn't something that you're doing. You're not moving in this modality for outside recognition, for outside, for whatever this is. This is something that you're doing to heal your own space, and it's requiring something that feels like it is difficult and creating difficulty or hurdles in the present, but all for a sake of amplifying that healing, because there is an unpacking of the past here. There's taking accountability, there's taking restock, there's doing something differently and doing it in a way that is hard, but it isn't permanent. And that ability of recognizing that you're doing something hard that's not permanent, that will effectively lead to better healing going forward, is where we see the amplification of the energy in divine union, because that's allowing that extension of this healing energy. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is that unpacking. There's a fine line right now between the energy in separation and the energy coming into divine union. What is the difference between the energy coming into divine union versus the energy in separation? You guys are unpacking the past right now, aren't you? But how are you doing it? Are you utilizing it to persecute the other person? Are you utilizing it to blame the other person? Are you saying, no, it was all your fault the way something went? You did all these things. I can't let that go. I can't let that go. I can't let that go. Or is there a modality here, or this was your fault? Or are you moving in a modality of saying, we didn't do something right. What we did in the past, that wasn't a good way to go. I recognize now I could have done this differently. I'm looking right now, that modality, that thing that happened, I now understand my own role in that. I understand what I could have done to facilitate a better outcome. What are we going to do moving forward that's not going to have that happen? That different conversation right now, taking that point of past reference as a moment of modality of productivity, allowing it to become a source of healing by observing what went wrong, is what's the energy coming into divine union is doing. the energy and separation, if this is someone dragging the past out to point at it and scream at it and say, look what you did, this was all your fault, and not allowing that point of observation, one's own sense of accountability. This is why we see that someone's closing out a karmic cycle, because this is almost someone energetically looking at someone else and saying, are you here just because you want me to hurt? Are you coming back here just because you want me to suffer? Because this is why we see that this is the closing out of a cycle, because this is someone energetically saying, it doesn't seem like you're coming back to me because you hope for some kind of other outcome. It seems like you're just coming back towards me to try to hurt me. And this is why we see energetically that anyone's in this modality right now is almost saying, like, again, you're bringing up, like, this is a moment that we need to heal because there's nothing here. You're showing me that there's no future productivity. You're just showing me that you're just here in the same exact space or place that we left. There's been no progress. So we even see here, there could be a moment of someone saying, like, again, I wish you well, but you're not giving me anything to be able to move forward with on. And someone else kind of, again, even as someone saying that, say, you know, no, you have to stay here. You have to take accountability for this. Because that's that moment of recognizing that, like, you know, accountability needs to lead to productivity. Making someone take accountability and just be in a modality of having to apologize all the time doesn't create a prodigious place for energy to function. It creates a moment or place that feels more like a power struggle. Continuing to get clarification on these, because it becomes more of a space of someone trying to say, I was right, you were wrong. Divine union, nobody's right, nobody's wrong. We do what we need to move forward in the most productive way possible. Clarification between Hangman and our 10 of Wands in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now. Again, it's not that the things are difficult. That difficulty can prove functional. So we see here, again, the energy, the differentiation factor right now for energy that's moving back into the divine union frequency versus energy and separation is all about what you're doing, the ratio on what you're bringing up and how productive it is. Are you bringing up pain points just to hurt the other person? Are you just trying to open up wounds? Or are you bringing the past up from a point of observation to say, I now recognize what we could do better? We can't pretend that didn't happen. We can't pretend that these experiences didn't happen. We have to observe them so that we can recognize and appreciate that we're building new ground here. Because even for the energy right now coming into the divine union frequency, even if this is new energy that's just connecting, observing past mistakes or past relationships, past issues, even now that is potentially coming up because you're laying new groundwork and saying, I understand what I need to change going forward. If this is a path of coming into healing again, this observation point of being able to say, I can see how we were doing things the wrong way. I know how to make things easier here, is amplifying that there does feel like something has changed. It's allowing for something new to be created between you. The energy that's just bringing this up and just for the sake of bringing it up, almost coming into a space or state of almost amplifying that something cannot be let go. This is almost further confirming that there's a separation here, because it's that moment of someone feeling like someone's coming through too much from a place of being the victim or being in a persecution complex or looking at something and feeling like they're constantly persecuted. Being in that modality of persecution is not functional. It's not practical. It doesn't allow for any ability to move forward. And while it's important, I need to stress, while it's important for us to receive that sense of apology or easement, if we're not able to allow that point of healing to actually stick, if we can't take someone's apology, if we can't take someone's accountability and let that become something productive, then getting caught in that modality doesn't allow any progressive movement. So that's what we see here for a lot of energy right now, is almost trying to show someone, look, it's not that I don't want to build with you. You're not giving me anything to grow with. You're making things too difficult. There's nothing here that's allowing any room to grow, because you'd rather kind of be in that modality of talking about how hurt you are rather than talking about something that could create a solution. And so again, the energy, this is a lot of reflective energy right now. So this could be bouncing back and forth. And that's why we want to make sure that we change this if it happens, because this starts feeling like a ball bouncing back and forth against a wall. Once this starts, somebody's got to catch the ball and do something practical with it. Okay? Masculine and feminine coming in, that's in the divine union frequency, you're doing something productive with it. You're even potentially observing and saying, my ability of not letting go of things was literally preventing us from going forward. There could be even conversations of someone saying that. That in itself is potentially enough right now for someone to feel like there's a productive path. Like, oh my gosh, they see it, they saw it, they thank God they saw it. You know, like that ability to release is important. Masculine and feminine in the divine union frequency, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. You don't, this is that act of giving. What is the energy doing in the divine union frequency? The energy in the divine union frequency are both in this modality. And are they accusing each other of it? No. They're saying, what can I do to make things easier for you? What can I do to heal this right now? What can I do to help you? The energy in the divine union frequency is not one of someone just articulating how much pain they're in. They're almost suffering silently. The energy in the divine union frequency is just like literally seeing someone in that modality and someone being like, I'm fine. And the other person being like, you're not. What can I do to make something easier? Energetically, it's like the oppositional point. The idea of going through something right now and almost trying to, like, this is the opposite. This is like someone like carrying a wound right now and going, I'm fine. No, there's nothing there. And the other energy being like, I can clearly see you're like doubled over in pain. You're pretending, you're trying to make a big, not saying it's not a big deal. I can see it. Like this is the energy saying to them, like, this is almost the oppositional thing happening here, where the energy in the divine union frequency is like, will you please just show me? And the other one's like, no, I'm fine. It's like, no, you're not fine. Just show me what that is so that I can put something, so I can put some application here. Because what's happening in the divine union frequency, the energy sees each other in a point where they're having a difficult time and they don't want to add to the other person's burden. You kids. All right, continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Wands in its reversal and our 4 of Swords in its upright. Clarification coming through right now. This is why the energy of the divine union is trying to, like, the only problem with the energy in the divine union right now is that the energy in the divine union does not want to add to each other's burdens right now. And what's happening right now for the energy in the divine union, there is an anxiety and a feeling and a fear that someone's past work, the unhealed karmic energy, the energy that you put your intentionality towards going towards to heal, is now kind of coming back to the surface. But we see here that this is exactly that modality here, where it's, again, trying to make it easier, trying to allow something to be more productive in itself is why we see that there's almost a level of care and concentration that's being amplified about not wanting to overstress something from it here. Because what does the energy in the divine union recognize? The energy in the divine union doesn't want to overgive to circumstances and situations that don't give back in kind. Which is why we almost see here, if there's something that feels like it's energetically taxing from the past, there's almost this refusal to want it to take too much weight, a refusal to let it take too much priority. Because this is almost, again, the energy in the divine union trying to say that the prioritization point isn't a focus on that past. Having that ratio in terms of how much care and effort and energy you're giving something right now, as I keep saying, is the amplification of the healing. Because your ability not to move from a reactive space, to move with intentionality, is requiring a certain extent of feeling like you have to kind of leave your guard down to a certain extent in response to some of these circumstances or situations. Because it's almost this moment that feels like even having it bring forth a point of anxiety or defensiveness would be moving counter to that point of healing that you're trying to bring to circumstances and situations right now. It's nuance. It's very nuanced right now. This is a very nuanced approach that we're seeing that the energy in the divine union frequency is adopting. But it's almost coming through in the expressiveness of recognizing that one is saying it doesn't really matter. Is almost saying, in a way, the prioritization is on the divine union, not in putting too much care and attention in something from the past that is causing some point of frustration or struggle. Masculine and feminine, it's like coming into that point of accepting it. It's almost like the acceptance of circumstances as they are allows a point of productivity, because it's not that point that it feels like you're fighting a wave so much as you're learning how to ride it. You're learning how to surf. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union frequency right now. The ability to address circumstances and situations from the past with a level or degree of openness. Not resisting it. Not arguing with each other. Not denying someone else's experience, but being open to hearing it. Being open and available and present to have a difficult conversation and not make it more difficult. That ability is amplifying energetically now whether something can come into divine union, because that ability of not allowing something from the past to come up and letting it create a reactivity point, not arguing, not feeling like you need to defend oneself, being able to observe something, to observe someone's experience, is giving confirmation that something has changed, because it's being able to address the past in an easier way, which is required and necessary, much like the energy in the divine union. It becomes productive. Masculine and feminine in separation, you are not seeing this. This is exactly why the separation is perpetuating. And this is potentially frustrating because someone may be trying to explain this to someone who's in this modality. And it's almost impossible, because when someone's in a modality where all they're talking about is the hurt that they're feeling, it doesn't leave a lot of room to be able to talk about finding some productive path forward on this. This is why we see, to a certain extent, some energy right now maybe continuing trying to separate from someone, as someone else is really amplifying how much pain they're in. But this is almost someone energetically that's trying to say to someone, if they're articulating that they're in pain, I'm not trying to create more pain for you, but I have to amplify that your ability to talk about how much something is hurting you is almost saying to me that you're not ready to have some productivity going forward, because there's nothing practical in it. There's nothing here that feels like there's anything that's allowing forward progression, because it feels like the whole relationship is just acknowledging that you're in constant pain, and that's not productive. Again, energetically, when we are in a modality wherein we're trying to move into union, we don't want to cause pain. But there is this acknowledgement that if someone is, at a hypersensitivity point, that everything is just the experience about how someone's been hurt, it doesn't allow for anything productive going forward. It just creates a modality where someone is constantly feeling like that they're not necessarily building with someone, they're just serving the needs of trying to make someone feel comfortable at every single moment, instead of feeling like that is something that is reciprocal, which is why we see here that someone acknowledging the ability of taking what they're saying, that the movement of something in terms of amplifying a hurt versus saying what can productively be done to fix it, is amplifying whether energy is moving back into divine union, or if someone's just seeing confirmation that something hasn't changed enough in such a way that there can be any path going forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our Four of Swords in its reversal and our Four of Wands in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now. This is the problem. And this is a path here that does feel like there is some, this is that very small window we're seeing that's creating some unhealed karmic energy now in separation. And it's very hard right now, because this path work that we're seeing is someone potentially moving away from something right now, all for the sake of someone else's healing journey. Because we keep seeing that there's something that's rising here of someone trying to show someone how they behave or what they do that is potentially preventing the ability to heal something. And this is literally a moment that may feel extremely frustrating, because it's like one of the energies in the modality potentially has a persecution complex. And I have to stress here, the difference between a persecution complex and someone who has been hurt is the difference between someone who has experienced an injury that requires an apology. If we move into a modality where someone has tried to apologize, someone has tried to take accountability, and we refuse or find an inability to let something go, we need to ask ourselves, what would actually be required to heal? Or are we caught in that trap of just kind of feeling sorry about our circumstances or situations? So this modality that may be amplified right now, especially if someone has tried to approach someone here and done everything they can to fulfill that ability of making something easier for someone, and someone is insisting that they're still in that point of pain, this is that modality of, again, what could feel very difficult, because that's that observation point in someone looking at something and saying, I feel like I've done everything that I can do to allow something productive to happen. They're just not ready to meet me there. This is why we see that there may be something really important that's coming through right now in terms of someone saying, especially if this is happening, I'm afraid I haven't seen that you've changed enough to allow for a different outcome, especially if this is something that feels like a repetition or an unhealed karmic energy. This is almost someone trying to say, I'm afraid, you haven't learned that lesson yet. I'm afraid you're coming back in the same modality that we left you. It's like, we left and you were here. You're coming back and you're still here. I can't, there's no productivity here. And this is almost the energy saying, like, I'm not abandoning you. You're making that choice to be in that modality. When you're ready to be productive, this is the energy saying, you know where to find me. But this is almost, I'm saying energetically, I refuse to kind of stay here because you want to live in the past. You want your constant ability, and this is what some of this energy is happening right now for the energy right now in this modality. This is almost someone trying to say your refusal or your inability to let the past be surrendered to become a point of productivity is preventing any possibility of a future together. So we see that in itself, that observation point is why we see some energy having to feel like they're creating an unhealed karmic situation, because someone's potentially moving away from something and someone is really hurt about it. But someone also feels like there's no way to productively move forward because someone is too focused on amplifying that they've been injured as opposed to utilizing that as a point of productivity. Masculine and feminine coming back into divine union, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Your ability to observe that this is potentially something that happened in the past. There could be energy right now that's saying, my inability to let go of the past has created something unhealed between us. And I observe that, and I'm here to correct it. And this could even be, remember, some of this energy that was coming back into divine union, the prioritization of unhealed karmic energy around a partnership, as opposed to prioritizing the partnership itself, would be a good way of identifying my inability to let go of the past, to let go of unhealed karmic connections of the past, my inability to keep focused on what we are creating together. That is the point of someone accounting for it. That's why I said the path right now coming back into divine union is stronger than I've ever seen, but it starts with accountability and someone saying, I see it. Me moving towards that person, me prioritizing that situation from my past has effectively created a moment that we are stuck now. And I see that, and I'm here to correct that. That's not going to happen going forward. Even now, energetically, coming into divine union, this feels like someone has to take a wait and see approach, because that's a moment of someone saying something. And again, the other energy is almost watching to say, well, we'll see if that is true. But again, the affirmation and someone being able to confirm that that has occurred, in a way, is almost allowing a pathway of productivity, because it is observing something that someone did in the past that requires correction. Continuing, masculine and feminine coming into in the divine union frequency. This is the intentional energy that you moved into to address circumstances and situations from the past. This is not something that you're stumbling upon. This is that moment of reminding yourselves that you chose to do this work. You chose to move in this way. You chose to heal in this fashion. It's requiring addressing this. But again, you are doing what feels a little bit like, you're unpacking some stuff right now. You're doing the hard thing first. You are addressing the unhealed karmic energy, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty work. It's addressing and recognizing that it may be creating some feelings of disruption or frustration right now in the present as you do this. But again, it's that observation point that you're trying to address something now to make things easier going forward. Sometimes you got to make a mess to clean up a mess. And the energy in the divine union's just observing that. Clarification between our Four of Wands and combination of our Three of Swords and its reversal. One card, please. How is the energy in the divine union making a mess to clean up a mess? Communication. Taking a new approach. Allowing this to be a pathway of communication. Having that moment right now, and this is why this is coming through as a journey of inner child healing for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency. This is, again, what's the energy in the divine union frequency doing? I made that mess. That's my mess. I'm here to observe that that's my mess. That point of accountability, taking stock, not running from a difficult situation. Again, almost looking at something and taking that level of responsibility and accountability is almost allowing that sense of that amplified healing. And this is why this is inner child healing, because this is moving in a way that one isn't afraid of confronting those difficulties or hurdles. One is facing them and saying, that's okay. Because that point of forgiveness of the self, moving in such a way right now that, again, having to address some situations of the past and looking at something and saying, I could have done better. I'm doing better now. That observation point is almost recognizing, and this is why we see energetically so much of this energy in the divine union frequency right now is moving from their heart space and doing what they feel like they ought to do. Because this is an energy that's saying, I'm not going to move right now and do the thing I think is going to lead me to like the best outcome, because it's not about the outcome. That would be moving in a selfish way. This is the energy saying, I need to be an example of the energy that I want to maintain in the divine union frequency. And so that's energy that, again, is speaking from points of integrity, clarity, being almost acting as an example energetically for the energy that is around them. And that, in a way, is, again, helping to heal something, even if it's creating a little bit of rockiness in the immediate future. It's like the immediate rockiness that allows for deeper healing. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, your ability to take accountability in this fashion. Your ability to say, look at something and say, I see my part in a mess. I recognize that where we are, it takes two to tango. I also see my part. And that's why we see energetically now, this is now the energies effectively reflecting each other, because this isn't two energies blaming them. Remember that ball I talked about? This is someone catching the ball and saying, no, you're right. That was on me. I could have done something better there. I'm going to do better going forward. And what's the other energy doing? I wasn't perfect either. I let you trigger me. You did that, I did this, that was not ideal, I should have done something better. It starts with one person taking that accountability. As long as the other one meets, this no longer becomes, this isn't throwing rocks. This becomes a game of catch. And that ability to recognize that, lightening up, utilizing that, trying to amplify the positive and the productivity point in recognizing the lesson and the healing journey is what is letting the energy move into divine union versus what is starting to feel like a rock fight for the energy and separation. Because what does it feel like? The energy coming into divine union, you're playing catch with this right now. It's becoming productive, potentially even fun, cathartic. Remember when you did that? Oh my God, it pissed me off so much. I shouldn't have done that. No, you shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that either. Versus the energy that's saying, you always do this. You always do that. You're doing it again. No, you do this. No, remember when you did that to me? Remember when you did that to me? Catch or a rock fight right now. The energy in divine union and separation are doing the same exact things depending on what side of the mirror you're on. The energy coming into divine union is utilizing that catch. The energy in separation right now, this could get pretty toxic today, and energy could be separating because this is energy trying to get away from a rock fight, because instead of utilizing that as a point of healing, you're trying to hurt one another with the past instead of trying to heal. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Pentacles in combination with our Seven of Wands in its reversal. Whoa, we got a transverse on the floor. That would explain it. Yeah, that's that moment that we're seeing here. Because depending on what side of the divide you're on this right now is really going to depend, especially if you're either coming into divine union again or if you're in separation. Feminine is trying to say to masculine, again, if this is a feminine energy that's trying to build productively with a masculine, ask masculine for something, and masculine, instead of giving them that point of productivity and accountability, came into that point of defensiveness, or came into that point of saying, or trying to say instead, like, well, you've hurt me all these times, saying almost like anything but providing the feminine what the feminine asked for, which was a simple answer and accountability. This is feminine energy almost trying to amplify to masculine, especially if masculine's trying to say, don't you care about me? This is feminine trying to say to masculine, this has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with how the feminine feels. And if this is a masculine that's going through this journey right now and is just trying to utilize this as a moment of identifying whether the feminine cares or not, I have to stress, if feminine's having any of these conversations with you, the feminine cares profoundly. Why would anyone put themselves through, why would anyone go through this? But that's the point. This is feminine saying. This is almost feminine saying in separation with masculine, I feel like you want to hurt me because you feel like the more pain I take proves to you that I love you. And this is feminine saying, I can't do that. I don't want to live in that world. Love isn't amplified by how much pain you put me through and how much pain I can take. Because feminine can take a lot of pain. It's not even hard for them. This is feminine saying, that's not the job here. My job shouldn't be like, oh, I'm so lucky. I love this person. I go through hell for them. This is feminine saying, why would you ever want me to go through hell for you? Why would we ever want to see each other in that modality? Here's an idea. Why don't we create heaven for each other? Why don't we try that for a change? It doesn't have to be an act of suffering. And that's why we see a lot of energy right now moving on, healing karmic cycles right now, because it's not the feminine saying, my love for you is not the question here. It's what you want us to live in. It's what you want us to inhabit. What gave you the impression that love had to be a game of suffering? Who could suffer more? Who gave you that script? Who told you that that was the way it worked? What if we just tried to build something nice? What if we just tried to build and support each other as much as possible? Why if we just tried to be as easy with each other, make things as easy as possible for each other as we go? And that's why we see that a lot of feminine energy saying to masculine, if you're in that modality where you're obsessed and you think everything's going to be hard, everything's going to be hard. Because you have to look at the fact that you're there. Like if everything's hard everywhere you go, you got to look around. You got to ask what the determinative factor is. And this is almost feminine trying to show this to masculine, because it's moving out of this. And this could, I got to stress, this could be some masculine saying this to feminine right now too. These energies are reflective. This is masculine and feminine saying to each other, if you're not on that path of wanting to build towards something, if you're not utilizing that as a point of productivity, it's really easy to always find a problem. But that means that there's always a solution at the same time. The question is, what are you looking for? Are you looking for problems, or are you looking for solutions? Are you trying to make things harder? Or are you trying to make things easier? And that's what we see energetically that's happening right now, that's leading to a lot of these cycles closing. But there may be some unhealed karmic energy on it, because someone may feel like an energy is abandoning them, while another energy is saying, I'm not abandoning you. I'm just waiting for you to come out of this modality that your hurt is creating a wall that's making it impossible to build something with you. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union, you're doing this for each other. And again, we see here that there's a moment of accountability. There's a moment of potentially observing and saying, I see I was making things a lot harder than they needed to be. My perception on something, my ability to victimize, my ability to look from the harm point, it made things harder. I now see that, and that ability of observing the self and seeing that point and recognizing the change, even potentially recognizing the ability to fall into that persecution narrative, because we all have it within us. Even that is saying, we can build back now. I'm no longer in that modality. I know how to make things easier here. And we see that for a lot of the feminine energy experiencing this could even be a masculine saying to feminine right now, I know that you doubt me. I would doubt me too. This is feminine. Again, this is almost a masculine saying, if you're feeling emotionally closed about right now, if you're feeling a little trepidatious, this is almost masculine saying, you're validated to feel like that. I understand why. And feminine almost trying to say to masculine, I want to believe this is something that we can heal, but feminine's almost taking more of a wait and see approach to see, I want to make sure that this isn't something that feels like it's momentary, that this feels like more of a lasting change. The energy in the divine union frequency right now, we're seeing and we're identifying, it's hard right now for the feminine energy. Why is it hard right now for the feminine energy? Because again, something about this past coming back right now, it feels like it's triggering. The masculine, it's a little bit easier right now for masculine, because for masculine right now, this ability, there's something here I need to stress. There's something here. Masculine's already taken action to a certain extent. Feminine is still maintaining that uncertainty as it relates to how to move forward in that functional space right now. Remember that navigation point that we described about the feminine utilizing that discernment in terms of not wanting to overgive to circumstances and scenarios, but also recognizing that they need to put forth some effort and energy in healing something. Feminine right now trying to figure out that ratio of how much to give and how much to release right now is creating a moment that feels a little energetically difficult for the feminine, because feminine's trying to make sure that they're not coming from they're trying to objectively make emotional choices right now, but not let that emotionality frame that choice. So this is heavy lifting right now on the part of the feminine, because this is feminine energy that's feeling a hard time being objective through their own emotional state. Masculine, you may be seeing a feminine in this modality right now, and that also is feeling a little bit difficult for you as well, because again, there's a moment here, masculine, that you may be feeling like something about your actions right now have put feminine in some difficult situations and circumstances, and you're potentially seeing a feminine that's trying to navigate that emotional space where they're not trying to become overly emotional, but they're also like navigating their own emotional spectrum. So it's almost got masculine and feminine. This is going to feel like, this is like, I got to stress, I'm sorry guys, this is like a bit of nail biter energy today. It's like, it feels a little unpleasant. It feels a little like limbo, because it's trying to go through something difficult, but not allowing one's own emotionality to make something, to amplify the negative. So it's almost like pulling back to a certain extent to just allow things to play out, as it were. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, between our Seven of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Six of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify. Patience is a virtue, I hear. Masculine and feminine, this is exactly what we see. A lot of energy in terms of practical application. And what we see here, what do we see that's happening that's creating a little bit? Remember, when we unpack things from the past, when we unpack situations and circumstances from the past, especially around that unhealed karmic energy, the important thing that's happening right now, especially around this type of work, is you might not necessarily be getting back what you aspire for, right? When you try to heal something, it's not coming towards you from a place of healing. You recognize that you need to put a healing gesture towards something to see if something can heal. And there's a lot of alchemy that's coming through on this right now, because the energy in the divine union is effectively almost leaving themselves vulnerable and open towards unhealed karmic energy, like allowing themselves to like take that shot, if you will. Because the important thing is almost like pulling that arrow out and saying, my offer stands. I'm not unhealed anymore. I'm not matching that energy. I'm not reciprocating the negative here. The energy in the divine union frequency, literally prior to the Mercury retrograde starting, set themselves on this path. And this is why energetically right now, that ability to remind each other of that is almost a reminder of saying, we can't help those arrows that come through. We can't stop those to a certain extent. In fact, trying to stop those would almost be just as bad, because then we're concentrating too much about addressing. Like, that in itself takes up our time, effort, and energy in terms of like putting all of our energy in building our own defenses. This is the energy saying all we need to keep doing is, when that arrow comes through, pulling it out. Namaste. I wish you the best. Can I help you? That is that point of alchemy. It's taking that negative and just saying, almost amplifying and saying, no, energetically, we know where we stand. We maintain our stability. We hold firm in that. That is where we move. That is how we move. And even now, that moment and difficulty and hurdle is amplifying in the sense that the gift is being able to maintain that point of internal stability. That is the gift. Having that come through here is, in a way, amplifying the stability and strength of the divine union frequency, even through a moment that may feel difficult, because the important and the gift is not coming into a state or space of reactivity. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. I gotta say, I don't typically say this. You guys know I don't typically say this. There's some energy here that's healing. There's some unhealed karmic energy right now that has some kind of opportunity to heal on this. Because again, if these unhealed karmic energies are coming together right now, and instead of amplifying the negative and the unhealed, there's something easy. They're not coming into that point of reactivity, and instead offering something and saying, I've changed. I'm not back here. I'm not back here to amplify the fight. I'm not here to throw that ball back and forth against the wall. I'm here with something different. Catch it. Remember I said catching the ball? Even if there's a moment that someone tries to throw it and someone goes, no, I don't do that anymore. Nope. Even now, there's that opportunity for the energy to start to heal, because it only takes one. It takes one person shifting. And we even see now that that ability of someone to show that they have that ability to change is now potentially a moment that is showing whether this energy here can maintain that consistency that would allow this to be coming into divine union from a space of unhealed karmic situations. Some of the energy here, not yet. Maybe not ever. Maybe not ever. Because we see here, energetically, there's something here wherein someone's leaving themselves open, if in separation, to hear someone out, all to see if someone recognizes what needs to change. And if the energy is not making something easier, if they're just coming back in the same space or state that they were in the first place, if it's all picking back up again exactly the way it did, this is potentially one of the energies being like, I can't. This hasn't changed. And this is almost, again, a moment that we see that one energy here is coming through with karmic clearing, even as they do so, because this is someone saying, you've shown me all I need to see. The gift is the affirmation in the fact that there's some kind of objective reality here that someone's accepting, that someone cannot come out of that modality, that someone has not healed enough to allow for an ability to come forward, that in itself, even that observation point is allowing for karmic closure, because someone's saying, I don't think they have it in them. I don't see it. I don't see any observation of it. They still haven't recognized that this is something that they do. And this is almost that moment of almost potentially just trying to show someone again and say, listen, I'm just trying to show you this about yourself. Hopefully you'll be able to heal it at some point. And leaving it at that. And almost saying, like, I wish you well. I wish you well. Like, literally, while the other energy is potentially still like, in that moment of still amplifying that something is unhealed. Continuing to get clarification on this right now between our Six of Cups in its reversal and our Page of Wands, which we love to see together. One card to clarify, please. Consistency. Wait and see approach. The energy right now that's coming into divine union. I told you, the energy right now coming into divine union and separation is really close. It's going to be frustrating. That's why it's like, a lot of this can like change on a dime right now. The energy that's coming back into divine union through these circumstances or situations is starting because someone is able to amplify and communicate an ability to see something in a way that they haven't before. They've changed. Someone saying, I can see now, I can recognize, I see this new approach. I can see what I need to heal. And that isn't just happening on one side of the spectrum here, both masculine and feminine. Once it's like a song. One person starts singing that tune, the other one has every opportunity to pick it up. If one person's saying, I wasn't perfect, the other energy is going to go, well, I wasn't perfect either. That point of mutual accountability, both energies saying, this is what I would do differently. This is what I would do differently. This is what I would do differently, is allowing and permitting an opportunity to grow and to heal for both energies here. Masculine is a bit more leading the charge on this right now. Feminine's taking a little bit more of a wait and see approach, because this is feeling a little bit more like masculine feels like there's something that you feel and know about yourself that you've learned over this journey, that you now feel that you know how to heal something in this way. That ability to find patience, that ability to move slowly. All of this is being amplified. You could even be saying to feminine right now, if you're coming back into union, I know that you probably don't believe me, but that's okay too, because this is masculine energy coming back into union with feminine saying, I am committing myself to showing you slowly and by degrees that this isn't a momentary healing. This is something that I'm actually very committed on as it relates to a long-term path and purpose. Feminine seeing and recognizing a masculine moving in this way does feel like is potentially some point of breakthrough if you're seeing a masculine that's having that point of addressing, because you're recognizing that this is a masculine that isn't pretending that the past didn't occur. They're taking accountability and telling you how they're going to change and what you're going to change together. And you are doing the same. The energy that is staying in separation right now, This is some energy trying to say to the other one, can you see that you haven't changed? Can you see that there's something here that's creating an impossibility point? This is feeling very painful, and this is why we see one of these energies is potentially karmically healing right now, and the other one isn't. The energy staying in the persecution complex is probably not, because this is that moment of an energy saying, I came to see, whenever you're ready to come down from there, it would be nice to be able to grow something with you. But this is almost that amplification of potentially looking at something right now and saying that it feels like someone is too caught in their own cycle of harm. They're too caught in their own cycle of pain, even to the point of not hearing someone trying to apologize and take accountability for the past, that isn't allowing some room for something to grow and thrive. And that's why we see energetically right now, for some of the energy in separation, this is allowing for the closing out of some cycles, because this is that observation and looking at something and saying, I don't think that there's anything here that can be healed. I hope that maybe in time there's something that can be, but for now I need to go forward. Masculine and feminine in divine union. This ability of navigating your unhealed karmic energy around you right now is a little bit of the situation or circumstance. But again, this is a moment of reminding each other that you intentionally set yourself on this path work. And this isn't the work of a single night. This is almost an amplification that it doesn't matter. It does not matter whether the energy that you've set your coursework here heals or not, because it isn't about, this isn't a one it or done it thing. This is a path that you've committed yourself on, regardless of whether it heals or not. Because this is a moment that is amplifying that the reason, remember when I said surrendering the outcome, you're not doing it to heal it. You're doing it because you know it's the way that you move. This is the way that you are. This is why we see that pulling out of the arrow is almost amplifying to you your own path and purpose right now, because it's the difference between energy around you affecting you because of their negativity versus moving in a modality and saying, this is the path that I'm committed to. I hope that you can join me. I hope that we can heal. I hope we can go forward in this way. That is the affirmation of the commitment in the divine union of what you're creating. And it isn't going to be, and this is why we see a lot of this amplification of trying to heal something around it is so important, because it's that moment of saying, this isn't going, that determination factor isn't going to change what you're growing here. It would just be nicer. It would just allow for that expansiveness, that stretch, that expansiveness of the healing that you're finding in the divine union, continuing forward outward. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between Queen of Cups in its transverse and our Ace of Pentacles in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Page of Cups. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. What are we seeing? What is this? What are we seeing here? Masculine energy. Remember that idea of trying to shrug something off and put a brave face on something right now? These are both of these energies, like not everything is fine, but it's really sweet that you guys are trying to make everything feel fine, right? That's like energetically what's happening here. Masculine energy, you're potentially seeing right now. This is a feminine energy. I have to stress this. This is really cute. The masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is masculine energy. Feeling like feminine, there's something up with feminine, because feminine is too fine. Like if this is feminine going, I'm fine. Masculine's like, you're not fine. When she says, like when this energy says that they're fine, that like baseline, that like, meh, like that is like, no, something is not okay here. Because this is feminine energy. In a way, I have to stress, this is feminine energy that is putting so much care and concentration on their emotional response that even the masculine seeing that to a certain extent is like, no, you being that composed is the telltale here that not everything, that you're not okay. This is masculine in a way, seeing feminine like putting like that ironic brave face on something, and masculine knowing that there's something more going on under the surface, that feminine's doing that to a certain extent for the masculine's benefit. Why? Because she sees that the masculine's going through some difficulty. So what's a masculine doing who's going through difficulties? Masculine's doing the same thing. Masculine's putting on a silly brave face. Masculine's doing everything they can to also like amplify that they're fine. So both of these energies right now are like raising, they're like intentionally raising their vibration for the other one to try to say to each other that like everything's fine. It's fine. Like everything's fine. And that in a way, and I have to stress though, but that's also this is the beauty of that, because you ever have that moment when like you feel like crap? Do you ever notice like when you feel like crap and you force yourself to smile, it does actually work? Like if you're ever feeling like, if you're feeling sad right now, make yourself smile. It does something. It actually changes. Sometimes faking it until you make it is what you need to do. And so what we see energetically right now for both energies, they're faking it for the benefit of each other, but it's actually helping. It's actually helping. So that's really interesting and sweet that's happening right now for the energy in the divine union. Some days you got to fake it till you make it. And this is going to feel a little bit like that, but it's not. Sometimes, and I have to say this, the faking stops being fake. It does work. It brings you into it. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This moment of masculine being able to identify and say to the feminine, look, I see what I've done wrong in the past. I see that I may have given you the wrong impression. I see and I recognize that I may have reacted in a way that was not helpful. I see and I understand that something I did got us off our path. And this is almost masculine energy saying, I also understand that if you are acting emotionally confused, it's because I made you lost. And this is masculine saying, this is almost literally masculine coming towards feminine, coming back in divine union, saying, I was being foolish. I was putting my needs above your emotional needs. And I see that. And my gift to you is telling you that I see that I was foolish. Feminine seeing a masculine that's willing to admit something like that is almost a feminine saying, this is almost feminine immediately saying, no, you weren't. And this is now feminine coming to masculine saying, no, I was not perfect either. My reactivity was not perfect. I shouldn't have responded that way. So there we go. We see that this is that harmony coming back in that comes from that gift of accountability. The energy right now in separation, this is feminine moving forward potentially now. This is feminine moving away right now from a situation or circumstance where they feel like their hands are tied. And what's problematic about it is potentially feeling like this energy is like recriminating feminine for trying to move forward right now. But feminine feels to a certain extent potentially that there's nothing else that they can do, that they're being caught in an impossible situation. And we even see here that this is a feminine that's trying to do that hard work of moving forward, but their heart's not necessarily in it, because what their heart is in is still potentially the fact that there's something here that they feel and recognize that is unhealed, that they see no positive possibility or outcome on. But again, a little bit of faking it till you make it right now for feminine in separation, and saying like, you know, a lot of this karmic path is one that like is accepting that you're keeping your focus on what you know that you aspire and need. You need to have that energetic equivalent. You need someone who's able to build with you instead of putting you in a situation or circumstance that doesn't offer that clarity or possibility. So even now for the feminine, you know, it's like you're moving forward right now, but it may feel a lot like, you're on the fence about it. You know, you're not feeling invested. But I think you're also recognizing that's because your heart feels like you're moving away from it, something that you aspired for something on here, but you didn't see the ability of the other energy to co-create with you. Masculine energy right now, if in separation, This is this modality that you may be feeling like a feminine's trying to say to you in some way, shape, or form, that they're questioning your seriousness. They're questioning whether you truly desire what they desire. But masculine, you may also recognize and realize that the feminine, to a certain extent, if this is a feminine moving forward from here, this feminine's kind of left a door open for you. There's almost a feminine that's letting you go. There's some kind of release process here. Feminine trying to amplify the difference between what they're seeking and how you're moving. That almost feels like you're more invested in your own personal self and your own personal pleasure than prioritizing the needs of the feminine, recognizing that that isn't a feminine that is too needy. That is what you need to do to come into divine union. So even now, masculine, there's something very valuable and important that you're taking from this right now. And one of the difficulties or hurdles may have to be kind of thinking about how you move forward from this point, because, and this is really important for some of this masculine energy that's in separation right now, the energy that's still in separation, you may be feeling, and I think that, again, this is something we keep hitting with a lot of this masculine in separation, that what the feminine is asking from you is too much. That this is a feminine that, in a way, you're feeling like some anxiety in terms of what it is that you can provide to the feminine. But I think that this is the important thing to bear in mind. The feminine isn't looking for some kind of like false pledge of commitment from you. They're not looking for some kind of label. They're looking for something that feels energetically honest. They're looking for something that recognizes and that you're honest about not just what you can offer them, but also about your own self. And we even see here for a lot of the masculine in separation, this observation point in feeling to a certain extent that the reason you might be in separation with feminine was because the feminine energy was asking you to reveal a part of yourself that they were seeing, and you weren't necessarily being fully open with them. You were just showing them what you thought that they wanted to see. Even that journey right now may be feeling like a valuable lesson, even if it's led to a separation point right now, because it's helping you come into a better alignment in yourself in terms of who you are presenting yourself to be and how you are presenting yourself to the feminine. Realizing and recognizing that the more that you're able to bring those into alignment, the greater possibility you'll be able to find a frequency that can match you. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Pentacles and our Seven of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Oop, there it is. Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. Masculine, again, if in separation, there may be a moment that you're potentially feeling, and even now, you may feel like there is some kind of way to come back into union with feminine, because there's something about this journey right now for the masculine that's still in separation, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, wherein you're potentially feeling that feminine, that you didn't have this immediate ability to open up to feminine, that you were potentially holding your cards very close to your chest. And even that moment right now is being amplified, because if you're on this pathwork, you may be recognizing that in a certain extent is what the feminine was asking from you. They weren't necessarily asking you to move into some modality of commitment that was false. They just wanted to know honestly where you were. And that moment right now, even recognizing the disparity potentially that was existing between what you were feeling, the strength and vulnerability to be able to open up to feminine on versus what you were providing them, it's giving you some moment of consideration. Because if this is a feminine that's brought this to your attention, that the feminine was saying, I only want you to offer to me your truth. I need you to show me truly who you are, truly how you feel. Recognizing that that's not the feminine. That is divine union for feminine. It's not a ring. It's not what you call it. Your ability to open from your heart space is the gift. It is giving you some moment right now, masculine, that again, it's helping you reframe your own approach to coming towards feminine at this time. And again, if you're experiencing that internal wall, that thing within you that prevented you from opening up in this way, it's now giving you a moment of considering it and asking yourself, what is that preventative moment? What is that there within you that was preventing you from giving the feminine what they were asking for? So even now, there's some deep healing that is happening, specifically, even if in separation. Feminine, this is why we see the feminine energy is moving forward right now, but they're maintaining some kind of hope as it relates to any unhealed energy that they're moving away from at this time. Because this is a feminine energy that was trying to express to masculine that the only reason they have to break away from a connection potentially is because the feminine needs a masculine to be open and honest. They need that. They require that. And so for feminine right now, this is why we see that feminine feels to a certain extent like this is the healing of a karmic connection, because this is feminine feeling like they've effectively done everything that they can do. And while they would hate to move away from something right now, they feel like they effectively have no choice. But feminine is maintaining the deep hope that something that they're moving away from, that they've tried to show this to, will come to understand, will come to recognize what they need to bring forth to feminine. And even now we see that feminine is like, it's somber, but it's determined. Because this isn't a feminine energy that is letting go so much as they feel like they're letting grow. This is almost a feminine energy that's shedding a connection, saying, it's not that I don't want to be with you, it's just not under these conditions. Masculine and feminine that are coming back into divine union, this is masculine energy that is articulating this to feminine. This is masculine energy coming back to feminine right now, bearing in mind this is not best based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, saying, I get it. There was nothing I was giving you that could allow us to grow. I wasn't honestly revealing myself. I wasn't being fully honest to myself. I wasn't being fully honest to you. How could we possibly grow together if I'm not telling you where I am and showing you that so that you could meet me there? So having that moment of accountability even now, and then the other energy saying, well, I was holding, and then feminine saying to masculine, well, I was holding back because you were holding back. Having this become that point, this is that pivot. This is when everything changes on its axis, because suddenly by admitting and opening up in that way, you are allowing this to be an opportunity of talking about what you're going to do, what you're going to change going forward. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is that moment, and I think that this is interesting. Masculine and feminine aren't being fully open to each other, because a lot of that not being open right now is not wanting to put something in the ground that they feel like isn't productive. This is masculine and feminine right now in the divine union, going through a lot of stuff emotionally right now, but being very judicious about what they feel they want to bring forth. And even now, it's almost creating a space or place of masculine and feminine being a little bit, even in divine union right now, not fully opening up to the other, because you're trying not to amplify the negative. Or at least you're trying to do so in a way that feels like it's productive. So there is something right now about both energy, like I said, kind of holding that wound and being like, it's fine. It's just a flesh wound. It's nothing. Because it's that moment of not wanting to amplify the care and consideration on a lack space while you're in the midst of trying to grow something forward. Final card on today's spread between our Page of Cups in combination with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. One card, please. We love this. Eight of Wands. Masculine and feminine in divine union. This modality right now is what we're seeing. This is allowing for productivity right now. We see a lot of the energy right now in divine union is just throwing themselves into what feels like it's productive and not paying attention to anything that feels like it's creating that lack. This is all about conservation of energy right now. Masculine, again, putting on a kind of a brave face right now for the feminine while feeling some point of anxiety. Feminine doing the same for masculine to a certain degree. Feminine feeling that sense of emotional anxiety here, but again, not letting that overpower something, utilizing it as a point of productivity. Masculine feeling like a little bit frustrated in terms of being able to move things in the direction that you want them to, but again, putting a brave face on it right now. And all of this is allowing the masculine and feminine energy to continue forward through something, because there is this amplification right now about going through something that feels like it's difficult, but not letting it change your trajectory. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This ability to identify, especially for masculine, that ability potentially to identify. What did we say was what feminine needed? Feminine needed clarity and intentionality of purpose. A masculine energy that can articulate to feminine and say, I understand that I was not being completely upright and I wasn't giving you that clarity. I wasn't showing you all my cards. I wasn't being completely open and honest. And that was very self-indulgent of me. That made it feel like what we were moving towards was something that was serving my needs as opposed to us building together. Masculine admitting that and saying that to feminine and articulating now in that way is now allowing for ability to move forward, because it's the masculine that's almost saying to the feminine, I get it. I see how my inability to open up to you made you feel like I was trivializing you, made you feel like you weren't important, made you feel like I was playing games. Not going to do that anymore. Again, productive, moving back into the divine union frequency, even recognizing right now feminine is kind of reserving judgment, but again, feeling the masculine, recognizing that is allowing for a possibility of moving back into that point of productivity, back into that union energy. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. If masculine continued to not reveal, continue to move in a modality right now, potentially even getting argumentative. And this is the problem with this right now. There may even be a feeling for feminine that masculine is trying to communicate to feminine, but refuses to answer the question the feminine has put forth to the masculine. This is why we see for a lot of the feminine energy right now, this may feel like feminine just moving away from a masculine, especially because this is that point of feminine feeling like especially if this is masculine, that's like throwing everything at the feminine but the kitchen sink. And feminine said, I don't want any of this. I asked you for something very clear. I asked you for clarity on what you want and intentionality of purpose. It's not the amplification. This is why if feminine, even now, feminine's in communication with masculine and this is masculine trying to give them everything but that. This is feminine almost bringing it up to masculine, being like, this is a smoke screen. Whatever this is, whatever you're saying to me, it doesn't feel like communication. It feels like a diversion. It feels like you're trying to get things off course from what I asked for. And that's why we see feminines almost trying to show this to masculine, being like, I see. Tell me you see that you're doing this because I see that you're doing this. And this is why we see a lot of feminine energy potentially saying to a masculine, if they're in that modality, I can't stick around for this. I got to go because you're just amplifying to me. It's like all you want to do is get my attention, but you don't actually want to build with me. You just want to make sure that I'm here. You just want to make sure that you have my attention. And it's feeling more like, again, a feminine being like, this doesn't feel like we're co-creating something. It feels like it's more like a situation of you wanting something that you feel like I am a captive in, as opposed to being a co-creator in. Masculine, if you're in this modality right now, hopefully, again, moving into that point of productivity, moving into that point of observation, recognizing and saying, I understand that my lack of ability to open up to you made you feel like you were more captive in a situation without clarity and observation. And I'm here to correct that. I'm here to build this together. I'm here for us to be co-creators so that we can plot that path forward together, open-eyed. You're feeling like you're moving back into divine union, even with a feminine that may be kind of reserving judgment here, but feeling again, there's something productive that is happening, and feminine is open, receptive to seeing that way. Versus potentially masculine energy. If this is a modality right now where feminine effectively potentially asked you to be open with what you want and you are resistant in telling them because either this is coming from a resistance for fear that the feminine would not be aligned to it. Even now, masculine, if that's occurring, you may be having a moment of realizing and recognizing and asking yourself, why if I'm not opening up to feminine because I'm afraid that feminine won't be aligned with something that I desire, that's potentially that breakthrough, and suddenly realizing that, like, again, there's something here that feels like it's less like, it feels like a moment of intentionality and co-creation between you and feminine, so much as a situation that, like, you're seeing it. You're seeing it, at least. And having that moment of observation and recognition, seeing something from the perspective of the feminine, may also be helping you recognize what that blockage is in the throat chakra, because again, that's either potentially coming from a moment of having a hard time being vulnerable with feminine, but it's allowing for a breakthrough. It's either allowing for a breakthrough internally that's going to help you as you go forward, if this is something that you've effectively lost because of this, or it's allowing for something productive that hopefully brings you out of separation, because you're seeing why this feminine needs this, because it's helping you see things from their perspective. And even that is a moment of productivity, because you're getting that point of observation. And even then, there feels like there's some kind of breakthrough here that's allowing for some productive path forward, either with that energy or learning the lesson that you can take with you as you go. Bottom of the deck on this is, it's unconventional. A lot of this, I have to say, I'm seeing here for a lot of the masculine energy in this modality right now, a lot of this feels like it is breaking some point of conventional thinking that you may have had. There may be a lot of masculine energy in separation right now, masculine, that you're looking at what you were taught. You were looking at what you were told. You were looking at the shape that you were supposed to take. And you're feeling like there's a disparity between what you were told one ought to do versus what the feminine is potentially asking of you. But even through that moment, you're recognizing that if you're having that breakthrough, you're recognizing that, again, you're moving past your own limitations into a space of embracing the unconventional, because that's helping you build that path point for yourself in terms of truly building a connection with feminine, as opposed to just like following a playbook in doing the things that you thought that you needed to do to be in relationship with feminine energy. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this ability of identifying and articulating what it is that exists between you in a way that, again, allows for that adaptability, allows for some point of focus. Even now, it may be feeling like an unconventional approach. But again, that difficult conversation is almost allowing for a deeper sense of commitment, because it's not just necessarily calling something and being happy and satisfied with it. It is truly identifying what exists between you. And by identifying it, you are articulating and you are making it real. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now, this is that moment that we see that you are pushing past, you are taking unconventional approaches to heal things. And one of the problems with a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency right now is, again, I keep saying there's no guidebook for this stuff. There's no map. You're dealing with a lot of nuance here. You're dealing with a lot of complicated energetic work. But that ability to navigate new territory is the gift of being in the divine union, because it's not that modality. Again, even as you recognize that you're doing this work, it is allowing yourself to recognize that the strength of the partnerships themselves are what is allowing you to take some of these unconventional approaches to advancing on your own healing journey. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, I would like to remind you that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.